Hello, hello. We are back for part two of our adventures at the Tulsa Flea Market. First booth here, a lot of video games. This individual would consider themselves to be a professional video game reseller. I don't spend a lot of time with his stuff, and we moved right along. Next one is comics. There are always tons of comics at this flea market, good, bad, and the ugly. Don't spend too much time. It's not really what I'm looking for today. Always have to look at cassettes. Not really sure what would pique my interest, but I always look. Most of those were country and gospel. Walking a little bit further here, see a bunch of knives that caught my attention for a second. Sports cards, lots of vendors with sports cards, sports memorabilia, jerseys, baseball bats,
Not too big,
gloves. My wife has returned. She's scouted ahead and she has found something. I have picked up my pace and we are turning the corner. We are large collectors of vintage Christmas and Halloween blow molds. There is a Santa here in the middle. It isn't a full size and it is not a tabletop. It's kind of right in the middle, which is what we're looking for. There were two individuals standing there, but they were both talking about the Frosty the Snowman,
Did you ask? Oh, it says on
not the Santa Claus, so I didn't feel too bad on taking this from right in front of them. We're discussing if it's the right size, if it's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's always the right size if it's a Santa Christmas blow mold for me. We do have a rather large collection. Maybe in the future we will do a collection video with our 20 to 30, maybe even 40 blow molds. Picked it up, bought it from the guys, took the cord away. It does work, it does light up. The bulb is good, the cord is good, and we are happy. I did just hit his head on the concrete, so I will be carrying him under my arm. Here's an up close picture of what he looks like. We paid $60. No reason to haggle
They
because
were
we were
looking at
very
the
happy.
Frosty.
Currently,
They're
we are
still talking about
discussing did we just rush in
They
and
were talking
grab
about
the snow
Frosty
or
with,
the Santa
with the video game
from the
guys last
people,
time.
but
There's a lot
they were
less,
talking
though.
about trying to figure
They're
out how to
talking
ship
about trying to ship it or
Frosty
something.
to their child over on the East Coast. This is a big video game seller. They were here the previous time, and I bought a couple games from him. He does have some bigger games in the case. All this stuff is priced accordingly. You're not going to get steals, but you will get a deal. There's nothing for resale or to flip on. I do go in the booth with my Santa Claus, realizing now that one of my arms is taken, I do not have both hands to dig with. So you get to watch me try to struggle to open cases here in a minute, one-handed. Looking through, just kind of gauge his prices on his other games. I believe these were all $10 each. Seeing if he had any hidden gems, games he missed. That is one of the strategic games, Operation Pacific, I think. I did love my Sega Genesis, Centurion. I did own a long time ago when I had my large video game collection, but we don't really collect anything pre PS2, PS3 anymore because we simply just want games that we're gonna play, especially if it has 2, 3, 4 player. Nights, always have to look for it, see if it has the cardboard insert. It does not. Cardboard inserts rather hard to find. He did have, I believe, 100 on it. There are a couple games in the case that I am
And then how much do you have on
thinking
Calibri?
about. I do ask him
This one?
about
Yeah.
the 32X game
A
Calibri.
box is so hard to find.
Very hard to come by.
Yeah.
It is complete in box with the
I've had
manual,
manual cart,
but he does
just
have
that
200 on
stupid slip
it.
cover.
Then we started talking about the game itself. And I continued on looking in his other case. He starts talking to somebody else.
Oops, excuse me.
And then me and my Santa Claus are going to go around the corner. He had a bunch of handhelds the previous time. He had really good prices on them. I wish I would have purchased a couple different ones. My wife is back from her scouting adventure where she always runs ahead to see if I need to speed it up. Dinosaurs. This individual, the previous time, had a stack of 360 Xbox games, and we purchased one. It was one of the Transformer ones. She had $5 on it. We sold it for, I believe, 45 or 50. So I always have to go back to where I scored the previous time to see if they had anything else. See what hats are here. Most of them were just Columbia, normal wear, Vineyard Vines. As we continued to move forward through this booth with once again Santa Claus, Hot Wheels, Pokemon Halloween packs. Those went clearance everywhere and they ended up at everyone's booth. My attention is drawn to something to the top the left. I believe it's presidential figures. My son memorized all the presidents in order at the age of 4. He could recite them in any order that you asked. So every once in a while, I do see presidential stuff, and I do have to ask the price. I believe they said it was $20 per box. Each box comes with 4 random presidents, not necessarily in order. VHS, back to cassettes, CDs. There's a Briscoe there on the corner. David Bowie on a bag. Trying to make my way through the crowd with my Santa Claus. Now we walk up to another booth. We have cars, Hot Wheels, models. This is a oncurring theme that you'll see all the time. Now we've made it across to another booth. That booth wasn't that entertaining. I really don't remember exactly what I was looking at here. Probably just making my way down the aisles. This booth vendor had a little bit of everything. As you can see from my wife's shoes, she is back and probably motioned me to move forward because I have a tendency to get stuck in conversation with vendors. As we are up to another booth, I have a keyboard, some TV dinner trays. My wife really loves tracking down Salad Master. I believe I saw a bunch of shiny pots, so I had to run down there just to make sure they weren't anything like Salad Master. It was just Revere Weller. Now, readjusting Santa Claus because this booth is a lot smaller. Various toys. We love the M&M dispensers. I believe we go to another booth that has hundreds of them all over the place. Lots of toys, lots of smalls. Nothing catching my eye here. We continue to move through. We do end up picking up a large camera collection, but we did not make that on camera because my battery had died. Whoops, my bad for only having one battery on my first weekend recording. This booth had a lot of vintage Halloween things. We're probably looking for actual blow molds. Most of it was just run of the mill stuff, nothing that would catch our collection's eye. As we continue on, moving forward, this vendor, I believe they had $10 on each Harley shirt, which is a little bit more than I would care to pay for just a basic t shirt. I'm just kind of flipping through, seeing what areas they're from, what places they visited, and then we move on down the way. We did buy two large bags of vintage Harley shirts about a year and a half ago. Got about $20 to $30 for each one. I think we had over 35 shirts. I believe this is one of our regular toy vendors, along with blow molds. We also buy, collect, and play with Legos. So I believe we are currently trying to get closer to that booth. I don't believe he's here yet, but we'll end up coming back. Couple stacks of regular Xbox games, nothing out of the ordinary. Like I said, we do enjoy our cameras, both digital and 35 millimeter. If it says Canon, you have to look at it because the Canon sells super well. That's not a Canon AE1 like I had hoped it was, but we actually end up picking one up at the end of the show for a very good price. And I believe it's already sold. Heading my way back out of here. Here we are in front of one of our favorite toy booths. Don't believe he is currently here at this time, but we do collect, build, and play with Lego. So anytime we see large quantities of Lego, we do have to look. As you can see, my wife is already in the booth looking. Everything he had was probably 15 to 25% off of going retail. Some sets were better. He did have a couple quote unquote damaged boxes for Harry Potter sets. We did buy both of those because they were about 50% off just because the boxes were squished. We're going to open them and build them anyways. They weren't investment sets. He does have all kinds of toys. This is probably one of the busiest and most packed booths at the flea market, but he does not like to show up 1 minute before the official open time, usually. Looking at a couple Star Wars sets, Battle for Indoor mini pack, the ATST right there. I regret not buying one. I do look at that one. We've got Goguru right there. We're discussing, is he here? What should we do with the sets we do want? I guess we'll just come back. I doubt people are going to be buying a couple sets that we're interested in. My wife is asking one more time, what should we do? I suggest we just move on and then come back. Here we are. Got a couple blow molds to the left. Got another Santa. Got a skeleton. We already do have a small tabletop Santa like that. So we didn't need another one. They have a large collection of water bottles. Move out of the way of the individuals talking in the middle of the aisle. I'd hate to get in their way. There's a Frosty the Snowman. We already have a full size Frosty. This other vendor right here does have a large collection of toys. Sometimes he has a small table of video games. Here it is right here. He's got a Game Gear with some games. He's got some of the manuals for it. He also has a lock case right here, usually of cartridge games, DS games, but nothing that exciting. I don't know enough about toys to be a toy professional. I know enough just to get myself in trouble. something has caught my attention. I believe this top shelf is full of Godzilla figures. We had just sold a Godzilla figure that we picked up at a garage sale. So I had to double check his prices versus what I got for it on eBay, and he's priced accordingly. Once again, cassettes. Don't think I didn't look at them out of the corner of my eye. And we continue on to the next one. This lady, we had hit the flea market before, the month before, and she had two bins of video games, much like she does now, and they were $10 each. We bought a large portion of her, what I would consider obvious home runs. Lots of Mario, lots of DS, Pokemon, some good PS1 games, Parasite Eve, and so on. I had to come back because you just never know if they add something after the fact. Maybe she got more, maybe she found more. So I am currently looking back through them. But after all is said and done, I don't believe I purchased anything. Nickelodeon iFit sealed. I don't know how special that is. I would assume not. Here we go. Grabbed a couple of Transformers. Had to look at the disc. Is it even worth thinking about it? How hammered are they? They were both in good shape, but unfortunately, these two are not as good as the other one I had sold, so I'll end up putting it back. A couple PSP games, some handhelds, and a lot of PC games. Once again, Game Gear, run of the mill stuff, Batman, Echo. I believe there was a Sonic. I think I've stumbled across something fancy here. Neopets for the PSP. Check the disc, check the case, run your finger across the top to make sure it's not broken. And there's a sale. I will end up scanning it and will not be impressed. I believe it had buy it nows all over the place for $5. Threw that out really quickly. Transformers. I remember that one not being, so I didn't really dig into it too much. That one's about 15. And then Wario's Smooth Moves, which we already have for the collection, which would be the only one. We would have probably bought it last week if we needed it. Wasn't worth reselling at $10. I had hoped she would have lowered her price, but she did not. And another thing that draws my attention is globes. My son also has an infatuation with maps, globes, countries, flags, and you can't get much crazier than that one. And final booth slash table, I believe, is the Hallmark. My wife ended up finding one. That is what she collects. Large amounts of Hallmark ornaments. And then this is our final booth on our way out. Hot Wheels, tractors, NASCAR. Thank you for joining us for our second video. We hope to have garage sale video next week. Thank you.